Welcome to the Ghostman Connection, Red Note and Billy Billy's #1 source of cultural connections between American creators and the Chinese audience. We are your two favorite Americans, broadcasting live straight from the United States and into your Chinese ears. I am Noir, but my friends call me CK, and I am joined as usual by my handsome and interesting co-host, Qiáozhì. But we are doing things a little different today. Given recent political events and trends in America, I thought it'd be most interesting to interview my co-host Qiáozhì, because in America we are experiencing an awakening. People are quickly waking up to the many lies and manipulations that our government and the government of our allies have been participating in for decades. While I have a low opinion of our government officials, and I have for quite a long time, I even dabble in some conspiracy theories. Even I have been shocked at just how deep the lies go. But Qiáozhì's different. Qiáozhì's different. He woke up to these many lies over a decade ago and has quietly carried the burden for a long time. So today, I will interview Qiáozhì and begin asking the questions I wish I had known to ask long ago. So with that, please say hello, Qiáozhì.
Hello, how is everybody doing? Hello, China. Hello, CK. I hope everybody's doing well today, and this is cool. Thank you for thinking to do this. It's kind of flattering for you to think to do this, and I'm glad that we are doing it. We can get into exactly kind of when and how I kind of realize there's more to this whole government thing. There's more to this world. There's lots of lies, lots of manipulation, kind of. Yeah, so I'll let you go ahead and we'll do this.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm flattered you want to take the time to do it, and I'm super interested to dive into the weeds. This goes into a previous talk we've had about red pills and blue pills, but I should go ahead and let the audience know is there are other pills we discuss as well, such as the white pill and the black pill. The white pill being that you have hope for the future. Black pill is when you are feeling depressed and nihilistic and don't know what to do. And when I think about this topic, I think about how long, you've not been totally alone. You've had a few friends and colleagues who are woke to this stuff the way you are, but it'd be tough to carry this knowledge alone without taking that black pill, man. So I guess we'll start there. Is how is your attitude right now compared to, let's say, 10 years ago? And what's like the emotional roller coaster been?
Yeah, and I mean we've said this to each other before, but it is like a day-to-day thing. Like sometimes you do look at the world and look at the news and all of that and think like, oh God, we're screwed. We're never gonna like not be imprisoned by corporations and the people that run them. And then other days, you wake up and like people are like unafraid to bump the new Kanye West song, and Joe Rogan is like seemingly like like aware of like what's going on in the Middle East and kind of like how manipulated our government is by a foreign nation. And Theo Vaughn's talking about how Palestine's a genocide, and Tucker Carlson seems to be kind of aware of the realities of the world. These people that have huge influence, and they're waking up, and it's like Shiloh Hendrix is happening, where like even just the people are being real about race and understanding that like groups do exist and stuff. And so I mean, like at the moment, super white pilled. They're like things are pretty cool right now. It does seem like the world is waking up, but there are the years that preceded this where you are like, you've got to be talking hushed tones, like never ever tell, I'm not one of these people that thinks like, oh, you got to wake up your family members and stuff. So you like got to like keep certain opinions away, like from your parents. And so like that stuff sucks. And we were talking about the black pill, like, just in like just how dark you can feel about all this stuff, like Pizzagate, like that, and like realizing like that stuff exists. So like I went through those years where you're like, I don't know, you're bugging, like thinking about like children being like horrifically treated, and all that stuff. So like that, I mean, and that was big for me. I mean, Pizzagate was massive for me, and that was like super black pilling, and that really puts you like, you see like evil. Like there's like a Nietzsche quote that where when you stare at the darkness stares back at you, and like that's when you really feel that going on. Yeah. So that I mean, I like the white pill, but right now, white pilled.
Dude, we might not get any of these news stories because you just brought up like 3 different things that again I can't wait to get into. But before we do, like these topics are becoming more, I don't want to say mainstream because I can't actually picture mainstream news and corporate media going for it. Am I loud? Sorry.
No, yeah, no. I'm sorry. Did
Okay.
you hear that noise? Are you hearing like a little update noise or something? I just wanted to apologize for that. No,
No, no, no.
I'm turning the volume up on my end. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Sorry. No, all good. Just making sure I didn't do something there.
No, you're
But
good.
it's hard to imagine, I'm sure you'll get into this, but 10 years ago, this stuff was mentioned in whispers, and things like Pizzagate are things that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
And I kind of followed at the time, and it was just the few details that were coming out about it were just so crazy and dark and so far away from the Overton window of what I thought was even possible or
Right.
acceptable that, to me, it was like, okay, like there's something there, but it can't be this bad. I don't have time to go through all that stuff. So, leave that there. But here we are later, and so many instances like that I'm discovering are real. Things I thought were just crazy Spock. So even though this is becoming more normalized to talk about these things, I do want to give a few statements to our Chinese listeners and any potential Americans listening to this so that we can really dive deep today. I want to speak freely and honestly about our experiences in America and the situation we're in. I want to engage you as thoughtfully as I can during the interview without having to worry about the need to add context to every detail you say. So before we begin, let me just say my ideal America is multiracial, but it does respect its European roots and Christian values of its founders. My ideal America is anti-war. I like the soft voice, big stick policy. Foreign policy should be based on mutual benefits and win-win deals, not bully tactics and threat of war and subversion and manipulation, which has been our playbook. My ideal American government, and by association, our people, are transparent and accountable. We invest in our people, meaning like infrastructure and education and job training and border enforcement and law enforcement and clean streets. And, there's even some countries and histories that have done vacation vouchers for its working class. I think we could afford a lot more of that stuff if we weren't in these forever wars. And we treat every member of every class with respect and dignity. We're not here to rip on anybody or mercilessly bully them, but we just have honest talks here while promoting work ethic, education, innovation, and in general, we favor meritocracy. Anyone add anything to that, George?
No, that's great. Yeah. And I'd say I agree with all that stuff. That's a great summation. And that's what we do feel a little robbed. We feel manipulated over here, and we do realize that there is like a more altruistic way to run the government, a more responsible way to run the government, and we are hopeful that we can get there.
I think we can, man. I'm taking the white pill today too. So before we dive in, will you tell the Chinese audience a bit about yourself? Like, what are your goals in life? How do you wish to live? And what do you want your life to look like as an old man when you're looking back on your memories?
Whoa, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in. It's a philosophical, deep, personal question. What do I? So I'm 32. I live alone in this place, and obviously, you can kind of see by the state of it. I'm not packing for vacation or anything. There's a washer that needed to be moved, so things are kind of just awry. I live
It's
in
a man's
Atlanta.
apartment.
I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I work for a radio station here, a talk radio station. I love radio. So I mean, my future, I'd like to make more money, kind of doing similar stuff like this, stuff like similar to my job. I enjoy my career. Hopefully I can move to a bigger market or work with people that are more popular than even the people that I work with now. Yeah, and I mean, I think I want a family, I want kids and all that stuff. I'm not, you know, actively dating anybody right now, but that's kind of, I do like think of like when I think about the far off future, I feel like that's a part of the picture. Um, I just want to live like modestly, have a make a fine living, doing something I like in as in the career that I'm in now. I don't know why I feel like nervous answering such a personal question, I suppose, but yeah. What
Do you
else
hope to
about?
have kids someday?
Yeah, I like yeah, family. So yeah, kids and all that, and yeah, I definitely I do think think about the future and think about that. Um, but I'm definitely a bit of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy. Not a whole bunch of like laid out plans or spreadsheets or anything of that nature. But yeah, just a kind of an American dream sort of thing. Own a house, be wealthy enough to not have to work till I'm 90. If I'm lucky enough to live that long, and yeah, that's I mean those are the goals and aspirations. See more of the world. I would like to learn to sail at some point. I think that would be cool.
That's a cool one.
Yeah, so I hope that paints a picture. Yeah, 32, live alone. Yeah.
Oh man. So we grew up in the same area, a liberal
Yes.
leaning suburb of a blue city in a purple state. I can count on one hand the number of times I heard anyone make an argument for conservative or right leaning ideas until I moved away to college at the age of 18. And looking back on it, the only times I heard reasonable arguments from the side were when I was around kids who were involved with the local church groups. And these kids were usually the preppy kids. They dressed nice, they spoke politely, they tried hard in school, they avoided drugs and a lot of the parties. In hindsight, these kids almost always had a two-parent household. The kids who were loudly liberal or leftists generally had a single mother household or very uninvolved parents. So for me, discovering that there were actually reasonable arguments against left-leaning ideas didn't even begin until probably a couple of years into college. And before that, I simply believed that the most mainstream narratives blindly. You had a similar background, but I believe you had doubts about the mainstream narratives from a much younger age. By the time we reconnected after college, your perception of US politics had totally evolved past mine, and you were responsible for exposing me to many of my first crazy truths or red pills, and then later positive influences of these people who were actually talking about his knowledge, even when it was much less safe to do so. So I say all that to ask you, part one is, how would you describe your political beliefs as a teenager before college years?
Yeah, so I was never super liberal, like kind of socialist, that like popular thing that when we were younger, because my mother was pretty conservative, and we were definitely like a talk radio in the car kind of family. And I was exposed to those ideas like pretty early on, and I was definitely like atheist at one point, and kind of did align more with the left. And like I'm always like to imbibe and enjoy myself and like kind of live freely. I don't really judge. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's like the wrong life choice, and but like I'm not going to like lose my hair thinking about LGBT and all that kind of stuff. So in was more kind of accepting of that stuff back in the day. I was definitely not like a race realist. I mean, when I was younger, I thought like black people needed a leg up, and like I don't
Affirmative
know.
action was fine.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have really argued against that too hard, and like I'm trying to like definitely argued that they like it's probably harder for them, like slavery has got this huge which I mean all that's sort of like it's not like super untrue, but I wouldn't exactly make those arguments now. And then yeah, so that was like as a teenager, I would say, like fairly vaguely like more tolerant of the left, but never a vehement kind of socialist person that had and I was not into politics. I just wasn't into government. I wasn't into like anything super scholastic when I was a younger I was into like video games and friends and like just kind of not less existential stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And we spent so much time together in high school, and I don't think we brought up
Yeah.
politics once. I mean, it just
Yeah, really. Yeah, it was like gay, like that was kind of the like.
it was a lame thing to bring up. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like, why are you talking about this? Like, what a
yeah,
boring thing. And that it's kind of crazy to think back on it because really, probably in 2016, so towards our early 20s, that's when Trump was running for election, and then it feels like that's when all of a sudden you weren't allowed to not have an opinion. You just couldn't escape it.
yeah,
That
yeah.
really
Trump
changed
was
things.
huge. Yeah.
So the part two of that question is, how did your beliefs evolve over time after that period? So in your early 20s and throughout your 20s,
Yeah.
and
So
it sounds
talk
like
radio
maybe
was huge.
Trump kicked it off.
Yeah, talk radio was huge growing up, just to like kind of expose you to that, like the dichotomy and like exactly kind of where I would end up sort of landing. What else was? I mean, what else was huge? Like Trump was massive. Yeah, Trump was massive. I mean, I was not. I would have. I think I voted libertarian when we could first vote, which would have been what 2012 was the first time we could vote.
So you actually voted Libertarian?
Yeah, I voted libertarian for I think like
Awesome.
Gary Johnson or something like that.
Yeah, I remember those years.
And I didn't vote for Mitt Romney, was it? Or who?
Yep.
John McCain? Or who the hell was running back? But
It was Romney, I think, the round two.
I thought okay, yeah. So I wasn't into that. I wasn't into voting for whoever the Democrat was. I don't even know. Like, but I knew that they were like, and I saw them as like political machines, and they're like I can't relate to them. And yeah, it's like vaguely libertarian, I suppose. And then yeah, I mean, like Stefan Molyneux was huge as far as that, like just like thinking about government and stuff, and that came after Trump. And I remember the first time I heard, like, I thought, like, oh shit, Trump's for real. Do you do you kind of remember that back then? That was the best.
Well, so you mentioned Stefan Molyneux, and that brings me back to, again, you straight up red pilling me the first time. And when you saw that, I was
He's like
interested.
an anarchist guy.
Yeah, he's the internet's biggest philosopher. He had the biggest radio show on the internet at one point before he got banned everywhere for talking about things they don't want you to talk about. But I remember, like, that's a good example though, where you were showing me some of his videos and just the intensity of this guy, in a white background, looking at the screen, and I was reading the titles of his videos, and I remember I literally said to you, I was like, George, I'm buying this. I don't think you're wrong, but I just can't do this right now. I just can't. Like, I wasn't ready.
You were just overwhelmed by the entirety of the whole thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I had just started the new job. It was after college. And I remember that was like I decided I was like, I'm going to just focus on this for a long time. And then when I was seeing that, I was like, oh my god, dude! I was like, this is like I can't handle the world not working the way I think it works right now.
Yeah, right. I told dude, that's for real. Yeah, but Trump. So Trump. Yeah, Trump. It was announced he had gone down the elevator, and like, I mean, I was definitely, like I said, I voted libertarian, so I wasn't like, and I was not like wrapped up in the election at all. But I lived with those friends of mine. I've got two friends that they ended up making a television show, Andy and Charls, and it was 2015, and they were like, Trump's gonna win, and it was like months, like still early months, maybe like a month into him like coming down the escalator, and sitting there and like never having really thought about this situation and thinking like, oh shit, they're right, dude, this guy is going to win, and like he's like a legitimate force. Everyone wanted something new, and that's I had woken up to that, where like nobody wanted the kind of guy that acted like a politician anymore, like the Mitt Romney, John McCain, Obama. Everyone was sort of sick of that. And that's really what Trump answered, was like, this is a dude, we've seen him for years. He's a businessman. We know his name. And you could like tasting that for the first time, or like just realizing like, oh, this guy's going to fit the problem. And then I don't know, that almost like gave me so much hope that I was like, oh, I've got to like learn more about like this is going to change. Like there's like it's not going to be kind of puppets that just just move without. They seemed like so untouchable before Trump and like uninfluenceable and like they were
Big
just going
time.
to do what they were going to do. But it felt like it really like the people had the power back. Like and it was tech and memes and Pepe and like Reddit, like R the Donald on Reddit and stuff. And so it really felt like like people just like me are making Trump happen, and Trump is what we need. And so that did kind of invigorate me into like being more like political and like into this news and into like current events and in, like wanting to like figure out what the hell are my opinions, like so yeah, Trump was massive, and Alex Jones was massive for me as far as just conspiracies and realizing like there's evil people, they're going to manipulate you, like they're going to lie, they're going to like try to like literally try to kill you and stuff like it, like if they can't like or get away with killing you if it's cheaper for like if that means that they make more money like
just so the audience knows, Alex Jones is a conspiracy theory broadcaster. He's been famous for a long time,
he's the
but
godfather of this
the
stuff.
godfather at all, but he was also totally discredited to mainstream normie folks and even to people like me. I trusted some of what he said, but I kind of believed a lot of it was kooky, and now I think a lot less of it's kooky than I did before. But this guy told us that terrorists would fly a plane into our buildings days before 9/11, and this guy told us there was a thing called Bohemian Grove where a bunch of rich rulers and bankers got together and burned a giant owl statue as a tribute to Moloch or whoever, whichever demon it is they're worshiping these days. And he got footage of it. He exposed it. So like decades before now, when we're actually allowed to talk about this stuff. So incredible, true speaker. You're just giving the Chinese people a reference there.
Yeah, totally. And he is the man. Like you don't like you said, 9/11 Patriot Act, and he's been calling this stuff out for years. He like the pandemic. He was amazing coverage during the pandemic, which was a total scam that your country got totally blamed for wrongfully, and it was our lab inside of your country that leaked it, and probably on
which
purpose.
I don't think people. Nobody knows that, by the way. Like normally people do not know. They know it was a lab, but they don't know that it was our lab. I don't think.
Yeah, it was the NIH funded laboratory. They were doing gain of function research in China, and I think they lit it out. Also, I'm coming out on the record.
I
Yeah,
think it was intentional too.
Yeah, so what else? 9/11 is huge. I feel like I've got to mention that as far as like getting awoken and just realizing that was a total con job. And I mean, like the meme is jet fuel can't melt steel beams, and it really can't. It really can't. Building 7 on 9/11 fell as well from a fire. No building of that structure and like or that build type has ever fallen due to a fire.
That's a good one to bring up. And I want to ask, do you remember any of the specific truths about 9/11 or about other things besides 9/11 that really stood out as waking you up? Because 9/11 is one where only recently do I feel like I have a clear picture of that. But because of memes like the Tower 7 being a controlled demolition, like I did see that meme a decade ago, maybe. And I was like, oh yeah, that's weird. I didn't even know that there was a third building that didn't get hit, that just collapsed. And oh, there was, how many floors of FBI and CIA evidence, in there, and they just got disappeared, and
was some
money.
sort of headquarters for something, like for some government file keeping.
That's right. Tons of confidential files just burned up. Now we'll never know.
Yeah, and there was like manipulation in the stock market. People obviously knew ahead of time that this event was going to happen. Larry Silverstein didn't go to work that day.
Didn't go to work that day. Owner of the Twin Towers got paid $4.5 billion.
Yeah,
right?
insured himself for terrorism like some months before the event took place. accidentally said on live television that they pulled it. Larry Pullett Silverstein. He told he was recorded on television saying that they just had to pull it. We had to make the decision to pull it. What does that mean? Other than and yeah, then there's the dancing Israelis. And you start to realize that this is and then what happened after the Patriot Act, where they are allowed to spy on citizens. They can use hardware to spy on citizens. Then Edward Snowden happens, and we realize that is what's happening at the NSA. Yeah, so I mean, the fact that we went to war for Israel after that, it's like that. I mean, that's like if you want to have a clear picture of modern like American politics, and like it's very much 9/11. 9/11 is a great picture of what's going on here. Yeah, that was.
Well, you mean false flags followed by war and massive amounts of money being moved around.
Yeah, massive amounts of money being moved around. Yeah, the banking aspects, like or there's insurance, there's people, like all of the things are at play. If there was like a healthcare situation going on on 9/11, I think that would be absolutely like the perfect analogy. Yeah. So yeah, what else? I mean, but in high school, like I do remember like going to InfoWars because you'd hear that this was like an evil place to go. And I'm not even like because I was into conspiracy theories, but just because like you're into like, ooh, is this bad? Like, is this like I'm not supposed to go here and stuff?
Well, we talked before. It's just we were so like restricted. It felt like by a mostly feminine force between our teachers, our moms, our beaten down father figures, if we had them. That if they tell you not to do something, it's like, okay, well, that's clearly what's cool. Clearly, I should do that.
Yeah, yes, exactly, totally. And you're talking about dads, and like, dude, Stefan Molyneux, as far as like teaching me like lessons about like morality and stuff, and like a lot of these guys, I mean, if we're gonna be real, they're father figures. They're like supplements, like they're lessons you didn't learn.
100%.
Yeah, or were never taught. Yeah, so I think that I feel like that's a part of my curiosity, is like looking for the next guy that I can trust, that knows more than I do, wants to tell me about it. Like
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I do also find myself constantly seemingly attracted to potential father or big brother figures who fit that description. They know more than you, and they for some reason care about sharing with you.
Yeah. That's the waking up. I mean, those are like the pandemic was huge, and then October 7th is like the. I mean, if we're gonna do the whole like list, like all of the things, that was massive. To just realize like, oh my God, Israel's doing another kind of dated. False flag might not be the perfect word for October 7th. Like they kind of allowed this event to happen. All killed. They did they made the call to kill some of their own civilians to stop them from being hostages. So
you're talking about the Hannibal Directive.
Yeah, the Hannibal Directive, and then there was the atrocity propaganda after that was just like easy to debunk, with the 40 beheaded babies in ovens, all that kind of stuff.
So this is another good reference probably for Chinese people, is you have me who's speaking to you about this now, and extremely skeptical of the government, went very far on the right-wing Trump train during those 8 years of his first term, and then his just robbery of a second term, and then the attempts to put him in jail and all that. So, but even me, when October 7th happened, didn't even cross my mind that Israel might be doing a false flag or that this was some scheme. I just thought, oh wow, Israel effed up. They let that happen, and Palestinians going to do what Palestinians do, and there you go. And like I've totally changed on that now. But you saw that and you're like, oh, they're doing the playbook again.
Yeah, day one. I'm gonna brag a little bit. Day one of the pandemic, I called it. I said this is like all being overblown. And then October 7th, if you're on this stuff, it's not like it's pretty obvious. Like, I mean, they're trying to pull us into war. They're squeezing Gaza. We already knew Gaza was a prison state. Like, we already know that they're completely surveilled. So like, and then it's the biggest news. Like, every news network is like changes their programming, and we start funding an unreasonable genocide, an unreasonable response. So that'd be, and that was huge. And it's just like, it's the chutzpah, like the fact that they've got the balls to do this kind of stuff and think that. But people that knew about 9/11 were ready for it. They knew that it was going. I guess maybe we didn't know the day was going to come, but we were ready for it when it did come. There was a swath. I mean, and you see it now. I mean, like, everybody sees it now. America's changed since October 7th.
Totally. And I think the TikTok ban was another huge step. So that was for somebody like me, where, I'm used to seeing, I'm living in a left versus right paradigm still. And I'm used to seeing the tactics of what I see as the mainstream left, trying to create a echo chamber for what's really a lot of nonsense thought that can't hold up to criticism. But the TikTok thing was different, where it's like, why are they jumping on this so hard? Why does this have to go? And then, of course, it turns out it's like 15-1 anti-Israeli sentiment versus pro-Israeli sentiment. And that was when I started being like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then, like you were saying, you start digging around in any of these conspiracy theories, and especially even though all the ones that I was already convinced of, you just keep taking them a step further besides whoever got blamed for it, and all roads lead back to Israel. Just it's shocking how frequently just unrelated things, I think, just end up I'm looking at Israel again.
Yeah, and we're not the first people to, it's been thousands of years of people recognizing that that they look out for themselves, and I mean, Israel's a new project that's only less than 100 years old. So I mean, it's kind of like it's compounded, but yeah, I mean, and it's weird, you don't want to think about that. You don't want to think that that's happening, that people are conspiring and don't have your best interest at heart. And
I believe you're referring to what the Bible calls fake Jews who will pose as Jews, and things like the scrolls of the Elder of Zion, and quite a bit of documented evidence of people trying to warn us of these kinds of tactics. That
Bobby Fischer, Henry Ford.
Henry Ford was that was an eye opener to me. That's all you gotta do. Is somebody told me, oh, did you know Henry Ford, legendary American industrialist, invested his time into publicating a thing called the International, I don't even want to say it, but just wild.
So October 7th was total. I mean, it's made such a huge impact, not only personally, but like on America. It's insane. We're here, Kanye West, we kind of mentioned it earlier, but Kanye West, Tucker Carlson, they're all, Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, they're all realizing that a foreign nation has a lot more influence than they deserve here in America.
So given that context, first of all, you're doing great, by the way, with giving references to a lot of these things. And the Chinese people are shockingly informed. I've had them sending me messages saying, hey, have you looked into the scrolls of the Elders of Zion? And all of this stuff, man. They're on it, actually. But given this awakening in America, given the sudden tide shift against not just Israel, but really, I would say, any talk of wars overseas for reasons that are not extremely clear to Americans, it's just the morale is not there anymore. We're not having it. People are fatigued by it. So given that context, if we were to get into the weeds a bit politically, how would you describe yourself now? And what are some of your key issues when it comes to U.S. politics? And how do you see this maybe develop? I guess what I'm asking for is, I think Make America Great Again movement is kind of
Oh yeah.
Stale?
What's next?
Yeah, what's next? How does this go?
That's a great question. I mean, I don't know. AI is so unpredictable, and like, just think like that could have such like a unimaginable impact on the future of politics and stuff. It really doesn't seem. It's hard to kind of look into the future on with all this stuff, just because that is such an X factor, and but I mean, I like what Nick Fuentes does. I mean, I don't know if my faith is in politicians as much as it is in like pundits and kind of people that are talking about the opinion makers, tastemakers, and so I mean, I think that that kid's got a bright future. I think he's going to be important for a long time. But yeah, I think Trump lately, staying out of foreign wars, allowing other nations to kind of rule their own domains. I think the anti-war movement is growing. I think that's a big part of becoming a huge part of the right. I think politicians are even taking that on. And Marjorie Taylor Greene here in Georgia is like making statements like that freshly. So yeah, anti-war. I think we've got to move away from like the kind of more social stuff. Like, I don't know. Do you think that like I don't think like I'm not trying to change gay marriage laws. I'd like to see that change if that happened. Like, but I don't think that social stuff is really. I think that'll kind of sort itself out. I think those are like sort of trends that are going to die, just because they'll be fatigued.
I agree with you on that. I think the right frequently shoots itself in the foot by jumping the gun on a social issue when, like, I'm not sure all the components with the like abortion laws stuff, from a couple years ago, but at the time it just felt like such a small little victory for a small percentage of the right that galvanized the left, though, and gave them something that they really cared about and to fight against. So it just didn't seem to make sense from a strategy point of view.
Yeah, I don't really. That's not the stuff that keeps me up at night. I mean, like, like the war stuff is bad. I mean, and also I'm like definitely I've got to like sort of say like I am a sucker for the drama. Like I like that is like a huge part of why I pay attention to this stuff. It's not like because I've got some like vision for the future but like I do just like seeing what the people are saying, who's mad at who's in trouble, what's going on, who's getting busted, what's getting revealed.
It's better than
Yeah,
TV.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. It's better than TV. That's a great way to put it. It's not like I've got some grand vision of the future. And I'm not like even super like I don't think I've got like these ideals that I've got to protect and spread or evangelize. It's kind of like it's fun, which is kind of sick, but
well, it's just by far the most. It's so much more interesting to get engaged and follow along with these storylines because these storylines are real. This isn't. I would argue that our entertainment, our cinema, our art is much lower quality than it was when we were kids growing up. There's just not as much interesting stuff coming out. People have been so scared to say anything different or controversial or out of line for so long. Combined with people who are actually willing to say things that are crazy and different out of line have been pushed out of any kind of entertainment space. So yeah, it's much more engaging. But to your point, I don't know about, I think the social issues are actually better for the right to leave them be because I think people are getting sick of the decline. I think people are sick of the crime increasing. They're sick of their kids having to constantly be exposed to LGBTQ stuff. And, why are you forcing my kids to be around this all the time? Why are you forcing them to write about their love for, let's say, trans people? It's just people are just sick of it.
Yeah, people are.
Oh, sorry, I meant to ask. But I think the race thing though too. You mentioned race realism earlier. I think that is being discussed now, and it's hard to imagine. Well, it's easy to imagine going away if censorship comes back, but that's a winning point for us. I think. I think if every other minority group is going to think in terms of race and organize in terms of race, then it makes sense. Or it's not just makes sense. It's foolish for white people to not even, to do that. We have to start being aware of that issue at least.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of like this week, I feel like I've been thinking about this quite a lot. Like, what is the idea? Like, is just being realistic about race? I feel like is that's sort of the end goal. Just knowing that races are different. They need different things. They create different cultures. They create different like milieus. Like, I'm not sure what kind of how you put. I'm not sure that there needs to be any action taken other than like just knowing that that's the case. Like, and
Awareness.
I think when when races start to realize that the issues will start to sort themselves out, and but it's going to be complicated. Like it's like I mean I don't know. It's hard to talk about this stuff because it is such a sensitive topic here, but like crime statistics are not like they're never going to really like I just don't see that changing. Like I think that white people will just try to live near more white people. Like I don't know or policing will have to
Yeah.
improve at some point like majorly. So I don't like I kind of said before. I'm not. I don't know. I don't not like somebody that tries to give all the answers. Like but I like in the most you can do is like just kind of try to wake people up, show people things that you've seen that it like made you think more, or think differently about stuff, and yeah, what do you think is going to happen with race in this country? It's hard to imagine.
Well, I think you're spot on when I don't think action needs to be taken. I don't want to get something done here,
Right.
but if there's education around it, if white people are aware of the game, then I think what white people and their alliances do, which I'm talking to you, East Asians, American East Asians, is you enforce meritocracy. So it's not that you're trying to get anything done for your own race. It's we have to be aware of this because in America, we basically just had we were just been hijacked. Our kindness, our naivety, our color blindness has been hijacked, and we just keep pushing things like DEI and affirmative action, and we keep going down past like we police less aggressively because it's racist to enforce laws, or we just keep passing kids through every grade even though they can't read or do math just because it's racist to enforce grades, or the teachers just don't want to deal with them in the classroom. But we have to, I think the awareness leads to us being able to actually defend the meritocracy and the colorblind principles. But ironically, we kind of have to not be colorblind in order to maintain our colorblind laws, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that really is like the most I can say about like what I think will happen with the future of like race relations is I do kind of sense like that there's just going to be a natural like resegregation. I think that like we've kind of been forced with the civil rights stuff into like trying to make like this melting pot, like all shades of persons in every classroom. And I think that both like everyone's going to realize that that's just not the ideal, and that black people learn a certain way and like prefer to be in classrooms with black people and be taught by black people. And I think white people are going to realize that white people like having other white people in their classrooms and being taught by white people. And I think like if we are able to choose that and and I guess that's what needs to change is there just needs to be like stop this government to stop forcing the mixing and stuff. And I feel like allow us to really make our own decisions here. And I think you'll see that those decisions lead to like people living in groups.
Yeah, I think I don't think you're wrong. I would maybe just to get ahead of any of the other TikTok refugees who are going to say we're saying something extreme there. I think you're just implying that you're going to see more of that grouping up, not a complete grouping up. And, you know, like when I picture a free market of movement and association based on what things like were when I was a kid, I mean, dude, I definitely gravitated towards other races too, particularly East Asians. I was just in New York City and New Jersey, and very large Asian populations compared to where I am in Florida. And in the Asian neighborhoods, a lot of them aren't that different than white neighborhoods. Maybe they're actually a little cleaner. They're quieter. There's normal shops though. And you kind of you walk in there and the only thing that's really different is that, oh, now there's signs in Korean or Chinese, and there's more Asians around here, but it's very malleable. It's very good. Like,
Yeah.
So I do think that Americans are generally colorblind, but yeah, I do think that too. I think a lot more enclaves will begin forming.
Yeah, and I'd like not like a complete resegregation. I think urban areas will always be mixed here in America. I don't expect them or want them to be not mixed. I just think that when people kind of wake up to the real reality of race, I think that there will be some measure of resegregation. I'm not talking, not complete resegregation. I think that there will be, and I think that it'll be unashamed. I think people will. I think the judgment will be beyond that at some point. I hope.
Yeah. We're starting to run long on this segment, and I want to give you time to bring up any points you wanted to, but I'm also hoping I wanted to push more on the time you spent with Charles and was Nick there too? Was he the other?
No, Charles and Andy. Yeah, so
Andy, that's right.
Yeah, they were good. So I was about 24 when I lived with them, and they were probably 20. Or no, I guess I was a little younger than that. I was probably 22, and they were probably 25. Andy was 25, and Charles was about 32. And they, they were into, exploring the government, finding out about secret societies, all that stuff. And I mean, if I was really like kind of to sum up what I got out of living with those guys that had been thinking about this longer than I had, that had explored the internet more than I had, like just they're very knowledgeable, very, alpha kind of guys that had a lot of opinions. And I was lucky enough to live with them. And it was that kind of, you've got to alt reset and just kind of erase your mind at a certain point and kind of ask yourself, do I know the things I think I know? Are the opinions I think I have, are they my opinions, or have I been conditioned to think these opinions? And just kind of just realize that you've been, brainwashed to a degree, and like, and that not literally like by the government, with tinfoil hat kind of stuff, but just like, you're born into a time, into a world, into a culture, into a people's, and ask yourself, do you agree with everything that, you've kind of gleaned from this situation? Do you really know what you think you know? Is kind of what I learned living with those guys. And I think that's absolutely, everyone should do that all the time.
It's invaluable. I agree with that. And I think the Chinese audience really respects that way of thinking. I think they find it refreshing to see Americans who are so open to the idea that everything they know and has been taught is a lie. And they're just curious, and they want to know the truth, and they want to adjust their perception of the world accordingly. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's kind of basic, but just good and evil too. Like, there are evil people that want to like be evil and have evil thoughts and like sadistic, masochistic, and just keeping that in mind is important, because
Yeah, we mentioned the racing earlier, but I think that's the other big thing for Americans in general. I mean, my neighbor and I talk about this a lot, but he's a good old boy from Kentucky who's, he's the guy's just a high energy, high octane, go get things done. Like he likes to work
Yeah,
hard
good
in the
for him.
day. He
That's
likes
great.
to stay in shape, but he's in his 50s. He's very handsome. He loves chasing tail. And I think a lot of American guys, they just, dude, like we want to do our job. We want to go try and find a girl, or we want to go
Yeah.
have fun with our friends. Like we don't want to have to worry about these things. But the reality is, if we don't pay attention to it, these evil forces are like they are organized and they are moving against
Oh
us, and
yeah.
and they're not just going to leave us alone.
No, that's super true, and those, you can't be frivolous. It's too serious a time to be super frivolous. You got to at least, in some aspect, at least try to know what's up, and I mean they want you distracted. I mean it's part of the game, right?
Totally, brother. This is awesome,
I
man.
hope I've
Let's
been okay. Yeah, thank you for interviewing me. I hope this has been somewhat worth it, somewhat worth anything.
Dude, I think the Chinese audience will find this fascinating. I find this fascinating. I hope we do a part 2 where we deep dive on some of
Yeah,
these things, especially in the beginning, man. You
I got
rattled
to
off like
interview you
5 things. I
next.
can't wait. Oh yeah, please, of course, anytime. But yeah, man, do you want to tackle a couple of these news stories before it gets too late over there?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, bro. Let's go through. We have a few here, and I'll let you pick which one we go through next. We have
Well, we can do the big obvious one because it's still like pretty up in the air. The
which one?
tariffs.
Tariffs.
Tariffs. So we're getting along with China. We're talking to China. We dropped all of the additional tariffs after Liberation Day down to 10%. We've still got our old tariffs, and it sounds like he's still doing some stuff with like steel but we haven't gotten the deets. We haven't gotten a deal yet, but there's progress. So that's pretty much, I feel like that's that story wrapped up. Do you have anything else to say about that?
No, I mean I took a bunch of money out of the stock market and threw it into Bitcoin right before this deal got announced. So F me. But besides that, man, I think it's a sign that, well, like, let's be very clear. This was not a win for Trump. This was Trump living in an old reality where America can just, bully people into making asymmetric deals with us. And again, I love Trump. I'm actually a big fan of a lot of stuff he's doing. I am supportive of the president, but I've browsed through Art of the Deal, his book, and
Not impressed. I've never read it.
well, the whole thing is based like all the strategies is basically built on getting the most out of a deal when they have to make a deal with you. So it's just like it is a
There's leveraging and
leveraging when you already have an asymmetric kind
right.
of set up
I
in
see.
your favor versus we don't really have that with China anymore. Like it actually does hurt us really bad to just say no to China. And I think their pain tolerance of the average Chinese person is a little bit higher right now because they have a lot more unity with us. They have not been getting pushed and pulled around in every direction by different governments and different storylines the way we have our whole lives. So I don't think it's a big win for us there. I was supportive of tariffs. I didn't want to have I'm not supportive of anything that pushes us away from China at these points. I really do see China not just as a personal interest of mine, but I do see East Asians as a value add to our society. And I would like that door to be wide open for immigration.
Oh wow. All right. Yeah, I mean I like that take. I'm glad that we're back at the negotiating table. I think if that seems to be a part of the goal with Trump here. So yeah, I like that's happening. I think China, I think they felt it. I don't think that it was like.
For sure.
I think they want this too. I think maybe we're not going to get quite the deal that we imagined when Trump, or maybe even Trump imagined himself. But I like that we're at the negotiating table. Yeah, so that's all. I feel like I've said it all I have to say about tariffs. The
Bitchin'.
tariff story.
All right, so yeah, we'll see how that develops when the final deal comes out, and we actually have numbers of the before and after. We can do maybe a proper moratorium on, how effective was this, and from what I can tell, it seems like the Chinese people are very eager to normalize relations, and they are not so much the types to hold a grudge unless your name is Japan. So let's talk about. You want to talk about Shiloh Hendrix or the latest on Trump in the Middle East and Israel?
Let's do Shiloh real quick. I mean, that was a pretty nuts story.
Yeah, man. Will you break this down for people?
Yeah. So recently there was a story that you kind of got to have to start with the Austin Metcalf thing. In my opinion, I feel like that you can't mention one without the other.
It's a direct response for sure.
Yeah. So there was and I forget exactly where it happened, but at a high school track meet, there was uh, a little like high school kind of confrontation between two 17-year-olds, I believe. And so there's a white 17-year-old named Austin Metcalf and a black teenager, and his name was Anthony Carmelo, I believe.
That's right.
And the white guy, the black guy was in this section of that was for the white guy's school, and the white guy came up to the black guy and told him he has to move. There was some words back and forth.
So the black guy was at not even his school.
He wasn't in the section he was supposed to be in. I believe they went to different schools. They were just at this track meet. The black guy was sitting in the wrong section of, however this was divided. The white guy went up to him, told him he had to leave. There was words exchanged. The black guy got up. The white kid pushed him, and the black guy pulled out a knife that he had on him and stabbed the white kid, Austin Metcalf, in the chest and killed him. And he bled out at this meet. Carmelo Anthony gets, that's it. Carmelo Anthony gets arrested, admits to doing it, goes to jail. He gets his bond reduced, so he's released on bail, and they start a give, send, go, like a donation portal for this black guy who had killed this white kid for legal defense, and that's kind of what they had said this was for. And a ton of black people donated. They raised over $500,000, and there's quite a bit of like racist commentary inside the donation channel.
There's a whole lot of Qiáozhì in there.
Yeah, and so that disgusted a lot of people. People were pissed off, and they, this is a black guy overreacting, killing a young white man, that ending his future.
And there was so much weird stuff, like the white kid's dad, within an hour, hours, same day, came out and said, "I forgive him."
Yeah,
there's nothing, crazy here. It's tragedy.
He was trying to be gracious, I suppose.
Despite that grace, the dad gets kicked out of another event following up by the perpetrator.
Yeah,
Carmelo's
he wanted
family.
to address the family in person, and he got kicked out. Right. So
and I believe Carmelo's also family's been seen buying, what was it, Escalades or
supposedly they had bought a house or some cars with it, but that's kind of like besides the point. It's not. It's worth.
But it all adds to
this.
It all adds to the disgust here. I think, to the reaction.
But there was this donation portal. Black people supported this kid after he killed the guy. Obvious overreaction, and then like a week or almost 2 weeks later, a video comes out of a black man filming a young, 30-something-year-old white woman, Shiloh Hendrix, and he's confronting her, and he's saying, "Did you call that black boy an N-word, did you call him a nigger? Did you call him a nigger? And she says, yeah, I called him. He was going through my child's bag, and he shouldn't be acting like one if he doesn't want to get called one, kind of language. And the guy says, oh, so what? And she calls him the N-word, and it was kind of brazen.
He challenges her to say it.
He challenges her to say it. She brazenly says it. Not awesome behavior from anybody, but this video comes out. She gets threatened by, online. She feels threatened. She puts her own donation portal up to protect her family, is how she framed it. And this is less than a month from this Austin Metcalf, Carmelo Anthony incident where this guy raised all this black guy that killed a young white man, raised all this money. She's saying a word, not nice, nobody should be calling a kid the N-word. She's getting all this hate. She opens this channel. White people donate $700,000. She beats the Carmelo Anthony donation channel. So it's like it's a bit of a online kind of race competition, and white people. It really it's proof that white people are starting to see themselves as a group, and that they're sick of the kind of double standard. That white people aren't allowed to say a word, but black people are allowed to kill a child, and there's kind of like these equal levels of outrage. It's as outrageous for a white person to utter a word as it is for a black kid to kill somebody. And so it seems that a sect of the white population is pissed and starting to kind of group, even though I think that they don't actually support so much like what this young woman was doing.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's a disgust response. And yeah, I know it's not, these are just extra details, but again, this woman was at the park. The man filming her was a Somali guy who has no kids. So why is he at this park, for one? And it's just, every time you dig into details of these kinds of stories, the asymmetric, misbalanced reactions and judgments are just become so obvious that the term I'm seeing online, I don't know if you're seeing this, but it seems like people can't decide, is the term white fatigue or black fatigue, where is it white fatigue because white people are all tired of that, or is it black fatigue because people are tired of black behavior? One or the other, but
black fatigue, I
think black fatigue. Yeah,
right. But yeah, that is, and that's the nature of the story. I mean, and black people are pissed that the white people are raising money for this racist woman, or seemingly, well, yeah, she's racist. She's calling like a black kid. And then and white people are sick of these black people supporting like a kid that's unjustly murdered somebody, and so it's not like it's come to some conclusion, but it's an interesting development, I suppose, is what it is.
Interesting development on race relations in America.
Yeah.
So
I will say, neither of us donated to either of these things. We, that it wasn't something that. But if you're aware of these things, it was a narrative.
Yeah, I mean, so you're right. I did not donate to it, but $700,000 is a lot of people chipping in, and yeah, I mean, to your point, this is one of those things that I probably would have jumped on a train and said, "Screw that chick." 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But at this point, it's just like, what do y'all expect now? Like there's going to be reactions.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, go on.
Come on. We see a lot of both races acting crazy online. It's, like there's a lot of shit going down. And I don't know why I say that, but it feels like there's no shortage of like racist shit going on.
For sure. And I just have to push back on it, though. That just meant I'm not racist. I love other people, but I'm tired of pretending like it's anywhere even close to the same. It's so wildly disproportionate.
Yeah. I'm going to admit I was being a pussy. I was going to say we see a lot of black people acting nuts online, and I kind of back down. You're totally right, dude. We see crazy.
It's scary. This should
shit.
be indicated to the audience, like we're friends and like we are normal, but the camera's on. Like this is scary to say out loud here.
It is, but you do. I mean, black people be wilding on the internet. It's nuts, dude. So it's a little, one white woman says the N-word. Okay, it's not cool, but fuck you guys.
But who cares?
Yeah, fuck you guys.
Like you literally just killed the kid by stabbing him in the heart and then bragged about it. Like whatever. Okay, so anyway, Trump just did a Middle East tour, man, and it comes at the same time that they are dropping reports of Trump being disenfranchised with Netanyahu. If you want to base
over Netanyahu, we're breaking up with you. I hope. We hope.
Yeah, no more your nonsense, Milkowski from Poland. And he's going on his Middle East tour. Pete Hegseth was scheduled to be in Israel, but Trump pulled him from that and had him join him in Saudi Arabia. At the same time, they're dropping reports that the Trump admin is tired of Israel manipulating them into wars and doing things like delaying peace negotiations or delaying peacetime arrangements that they need to come to a deal. And Trump just is starting to notice, I think, that, it's not about getting to the right deal for them. It's just prolonging this to, get more what they want done in Gaza, to do more collective punishment. And anyway, it's so surprising that we were both very suspicious at the beginning. I think especially you. And as it keeps developing, though, it's starting to feel like maybe it's real. Maybe they really are aware that they are losing their base quickly over their ties to Israel at the Trump admin.
There's obviously some sort of rift going on, or some need for a rift to go on, and it does seem sort of real. It does, he's talking about Gaza to these Middle Eastern leaders. I don't, but I'm still skeptical. I just don't. I mean, Miriam Adelson gave him $100 million. I feel like she's going to get what she wants in the end. I feel like this is like some sort of strategy is going on, but it does feel like it's starting to feel a little more real,
But to your point, until our money is no longer just being siphoned over there and they're no longer using our tech to fight their wars, and it's not real. But
and it also, I feel like it does kind of offer. So since this breakup, that they've stopped direct communications with Netanyahu. Netanyahu's vowed that he's going into Gaza, that he's going to end Hamas, that there is nothing that will stop this war. So it almost feels like maybe we're backing off while Israel pushes the gas, and we look a little less involved, as they end this genocide and get the fucking job done. And maybe Bibi gets ousted as soon as the job is done, and we're that was Bibi, that was different, he's fucking nuts, we're not like that anymore, so therefore we can still give money and arms, and it'll be kind of it'll be over, and it'll we'll move on to the next thing in 10 years, whatever the next objective is. But Iran is still very much up in the air. I don't know. It's real. What happens to Iran now, I feel like will tell us how real this thing is. Do we sign some sort of nuclear deal that allows them some sort of civil nuclear program for power? That would be okay, maybe we really are done with Israel. I like what he's saying. I like this stuff that he's saying. We're going to let Middle Eastern countries decide the fate of the Middle East. We're not trying to intervene anymore. We've destroyed more than we built.
That's so awesome, man. That's so awesome that he said that on TV.
I love that. That's awesome. But then you see Jared Kushner is going over there. You see Jared Kushner has Theo Von at dinner because Theo Von needs to be.
Oh boy.
toured around Auschwitz or something, like.
Yeah, he's got to go through the whole tour like Elon did.
So I don't believe it. I don't know if we're totally done. I feel like this is some sort of, I feel, part of the plan a little bit. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, like I said, I think you're right. Until we see something tangible, like actual movement, like properly away from them, that can't just be reversed the next day, then we should be distrustful and we shouldn't treat this. But man, it's man, if they're doing theater, it's masterful. But I am getting more and more suspicious, I guess, of our vice president, who I'm blanking on right now.
JD Vance,
where, I look back at his Theo Von interview and he brought up the AIPAC, issue where every congressman has an AIPAC guy.
right?
And at first I was like, oh, wow, that means he's not with them. But now that I know more about his background stuff, it's like corporate finance and all that. It's like, is he really not like on that board? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't vote for Donald Trump very much because he was partnered with JD, but I do think we're starting to see who's on what side. I think Hegseth, I think Vance, I think Trump. I think they don't want to go to war. I don't think they want to start a new war in the Middle East. I don't think that they're going to help bomb Iranian nuclear facilities. So, I got to give him credit for that. I thought he would, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we're gearing up for a false flag here and the whole machine's going to be turned on and we are going to go to war with them. And this is like some sort of elaborate ruse, but I like the messaging at the moment. I like, JD Vance is being better than I thought he would be in this situation.
Yeah, I agree so far. There's reasons to take the white pill right now. So let's hope it goes that way and stay positive. We got to mention the Ye song, man.
Oh it's nuts. And dude, Joe Rogan was talking about it today, saying it's catchy.
Ooh, I haven't heard it. I haven't heard that clip yet.
Talking to Tom Segura, saying it's catchy, saying that
is Tom Segura just like sweating while he's bringing this one up?
They frame it, this is crazy. How can he be so irresponsible? He's going to make uneducated people align with the Nazi party or think that that's cool. So like they obviously disparage it and condemn it and disavow. But the fact that they're even fucking talking about it, insane. The fact that
they're exposing so many people to it that way.
Yeah, the fact that they're saying it's catchy, the fact that Joe Rogan is saying that it being banned on all the platforms, does that not kind of speak to the issues that Kanye's trying to talk about? Which is I love that Joe Rogan's saying that, dude. That's like fucking awesome. That's so sick.
It's the right way to address it when you're as big as him, too.
Yeah,
like, it's perfect.
And what does that mean when the song? And we have like Satan butt fucking the Little Nas X, and that's like blasted on MTV. He's like getting like Super Bowl, or just like he's performing at awards shows and shit.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about Hitler, hail Hitler. You got a beat on it, all my niggas Nazis. Like what the, like it's awesome. Like it's fucking awesome, dude.
His tweet, I think, is that it cost me $6 billion to say fuck the Jews, and his money well spent. Like he's going to war, man. He's going to war with them.
Yeah, Overton window pushed. Like it's awesome. It's cool, and it's like retarded to even have to say it, but people, like, you kind of do because there are idiots out there. Like, we're not Nazis, like we're not like, but you've like, so there's a reason that this is so provocative is because it's making you think about other things. It's making you think about America. It makes you think about Jewish influence.
And just while we're doing caveats, I'm pissed at Israel. I'm pissed that I've been lied to my entire life. I'm pissed at how much of history has just been rewritten for me, so I'm not allowed to know how things really were. And I'm pissed about who I'm finding behind a lot of these rabbit holes I dig into. But I hung out with a Jewish friend today. I'm hanging out with a close Jewish friend tomorrow. Like there are great American Jews out there, and they are in my life, and I love them.
Yeah, they should
But
be pissed too.
and they should be pissed. And I think we're seeing more and more American Jews start to distance themselves from, Zionism or Jewish supremacy. And, it's very interesting to watch the internal dynamics of that community change. And,
And look, I don't blame them, man. Like, I'd be scared too. Like, it is freaky out there. Like, there is a lot of anti-Semitism going on the internet and stuff. And like, I get being defensive and like getting hurt and like, feeling it like getting scared and like that I hate that for people. And, but that's not what it's really not meant to do that. I hope that they understand that like, it's not like meant to like make people hate you. It's meant to like, it's meant to allow people to think differently about things they've thought one way about for a very, very long time and never questioned. And
yeah. And I mean, the sooner you get sunlight on this thing, and the sooner, I think a lot of the American Jews are having their own awakening, right? I think a lot of them didn't know. A lot of them are
totally. I mean, they're the most
shocked.
brainwashed. They're the most brainwashed one. They
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, of course, right? Like, of
yeah,
course.
they get like flown to Israel and shown Israel and how great it is and all that shit.
Yeah. I think, but I do think it's a very smart tactic, though, which is a lot of them are moving towards just making it clear that they are not associated with Israel. They are not Zionists. But at the same time, a lot of them are leaning into the old tactics of, pretending like they're super scared of violence all the time,
Yeah,
or,
right. Yeah.
saying that, Jewish supremacy is totally not the same thing as like white supremacy or any other race-based supremacy thing. And, they're a lot of that stuff. So I'm excited about the future. I know it's a tumultuous time for the American Jews out there, but yeah, those are our caveats.
But we're taking our government back, and sorry, party's over.
I love it, man. Hey, I got to show you a couple crazy stuff the Chinese messaged me, but let's do that offline. We'll cut this one now. And fantastic interview, George. I think the Chinese people are going to love hearing this one. We're getting good at this, man. This is starting to get fun.
Hell yeah. I love it, dude. I love all the Chinese people listening. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Connor. CK. I love you, dog. I love you all. Peace.
Love you more, bro. Cheers, y'all. Ghostman out.